Who profits from artists' pain? Someone is profiting off the idea that your pain makes better art. It's not you. I used to work at a treatment center in Los Angeles, and I'll never forget the artists and writers who would come into the treatment center almost excited for their breakdown, like it was finally their turn to earn the title of being a real artist or a writer. And that's not an accident. That's a story we've all been sold. And in this episode, we're breaking down exactly who wins when artists believe that they have to suffer to be real. Welcome or welcome back to Your Art is a Spell. Somewhere along the way, we all absorbed the same lesson. If you're not suffering, you're not serious. If your work doesn't come from a wound, it doesn't count. We've turned the starving artist from a description of poverty into something that we treat like a personality trait, almost like a badge of honor. Think about who gets remembered this way. Basquiat's addiction gets mythologized instead of mourned. Van Gogh's mental illness becomes a romantic footnote instead of a tragedy. And it's not just history. It's happening right now. Artists, writers, musicians are so often only celebrated when their work is about struggle. Make something about joy, rest, or softness, and suddenly it's less serious, less political, less worthy of a grant, a review, a platform. So the question I want to sit with today isn't, is this true? It's who benefits when we believe this? Because someone does benefit. This story doesn't survive for centuries by accident. The art market benefits because a suffering artist is a compelling artist, and a compelling artist sells. Trauma is marketable. It's a built-in narrative arc. So gallerists and collectors don't have to do any work. The pain does it for them. Institutions benefit because if artists believe that struggle is the price of legitimacy, they'll accept less. Less pay, less rest, less boundaries, because that's just what it takes. And quite frankly, the wellness industry benefits too. Ironically, because now there's a whole economy built around healing artists from the very suffering they were told they needed in the first place. And if you're a marginalized artist, queer, trans, an artist of color, disabled, you're not just expected to suffer for your art, you're expected to make the suffering, and your community is suffering, the actual content of your work. Your identity as someone who suffers becomes the topic that you're allowed to have. Step outside of that, make something that's maybe joyful or playful, abstract, and just watch how much harder it is suddenly to get funded or to be taken seriously. I'm here to remind you that your art can be fun. It can be playful, and that the trauma you've experienced can just exist between you and your therapist or your friends. It doesn't have to become the subject of your next artwork unless that's what you want. And what's even more nefarious is that we, Black, brown, queer and trans, disabled artists, were never a part of the colonial root of the tortured genius myth. It was built inside a Western, mostly white, mostly male, romantic tradition. It was never built with us in mind, but it's still the ruler that we're all being measured up against. Now, I've spent over a decade as a working artist, and I've also seen behind the curtain of what this industry does to people who create from wounds instead of from wholeness. I want to say something directly because I don't feel like it gets said enough. As I said before, I've watched people in treatment, people who were talented, sensitive, genuinely gifted, choose relapse because some part of them was scared that healing would kill their art, that if they got calm, if they got well, that their art would stop. I don't want that story for artists. We are sensitive. We do have unique gifts, and those things need to be nurtured, not sacrificed. A lot of us have never been taught how to navigate our sensitivities, how to wield our gifts, or even how to protect ourselves. It might sound romantic to chase pain, to chase experiences that you'll grow from, but so many of us would genuinely benefit from choosing grounding instead, choosing peace, developing our relationship to our intuition, to our inner voice, to what some traditions would even call our muse, our daemon, our ancestors, instead of constantly having to heal and repair from the pain we convinced ourselves we needed. Here's the flip side that I want you to walk away with. Joy, play, rest, nurturance, care, these aren't the opposite of serious art. They're radical acts of resistance. Because think about what a system built on urgency and suffering actually wants from you. It wants you tired. It wants you desperate. It wants you to believe that your value is tied to your output, and your output is tied to your pain. A well-rested, a joyful artist, a nurtured artist is much harder to exploit. So when you choose rest over grinding through burnout, when you choose play over forcing serious work, when you choose community over isolation, you're not being lazy or precious. You're refusing to participate in a system that needs you depleted to function. That's political. That's not separate from your art. That is a part of your art, and it is a part of creating a different reality, not just for artists, but for everyone who's watching artists model what is possible. Which brings me to the idea of having an art block, because I feel like we've completely misdiagnosed it, maybe even overblown it. We've been taught that an art block is either a personal failure that you should beat yourself up about, or a crisis so severe that it requires some extreme intervention. Burn it all down, force a breakthrough, chase an experience that will shake something loose. I just want to offer you something a little less dramatic. An art block is often just a normal, cyclical part of the process. Sometimes it's your nervous system asking for a bit of regulation. Sometimes it's a sign that you just need a break from your artistic practice. Sometimes it's simply a redirection, not a stop sign, just a different road. It doesn't mean that something is wrong with you. It doesn't mean that you're not a real artist. It just means you're a person. And people, like nature, have seasons and cycles. So here's the last thing I want to leave you with. Healing doesn't kill your art. It's what finally lets you hear your own voice instead of just the wound. If you healed tomorrow, would you actually be scared that your art would disappear? Sit with that question, honestly, because I don't think that your art disappears when you heal. I think that what disappears is the performance of pain you thought you had to give in order to be allowed to make it. And This is exactly why I've built my membership space, mutant-magic.com. It's not just a place for insider knowledge from over a decade of being a working artist, though it is that too. It's also a space where we can actually support each other as artists instead of doing this alone, instead of competing over who suffered the most to earn their seats at the table. You can join for free at mutant-magic.com. That signs you up for my newsletter. And if you want to go deeper, there's an exclusive community that has its own private podcast. In the next episode of the Mutant Magic podcast, I'm getting candid about a question that I get asked constantly. Is an MFA really worth it? So if that's something you've been wondering about or want some community, come to mutant-magic.com and sign up today. And last, I just want to thank everyone who's come onto Patreon to support me as an artist, as well as this podcast. Thank you genuinely for your support. Your support is what lets me keep making art on my own terms instead of burning out just to survive. And it's what makes content like this possible in the first place. If you want to be a part of that, you can find me there on Patreon too. I'll be linking it in the description of this video as well as in the show notes. So notice this week where you feel pressure to perform pain for your art, for your audience, for anyone. And instead, try choosing rest. Try choosing play. Try choosing ease. And see what happens. And never forget that your art is a spell and it will change your life and the world around us. Thank you so much for listening to this episode or watching us on YouTube. If this episode resonated with you, please share it with an artist friend who you feel could use this message. Want to help this message spread? Help us grow by playing with the algorithm, giving us a thumbs up, leaving a comment, sharing it on other platforms, as well as following us and leaving us a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or anywhere you get your podcasts. All of this helps our community grow and helps me in sharing this message with more unique weirdo artists just like you.